Amazon.com, you can buy Eco-Science, Population, Resources, Environment. They're proud of it. University level textbook for policymakers about how to poison the food and water, how to spray the air, how to kill babies, how to grab babies away from mothers with a CPS and kill them. And it's liberal and loving and good, and they really care about you. That's why all those Planned Parenthoods run by Margaret Sanger, who was worshipped by Hitler, is so liberal and good. Aaron, you had a few, Aaron Dykes in here in the office, had a few quotes there from good old Bertrand Russell, also worshipped by the liberals, about scientific dictatorships and eugenics, that Obama's science director saying the carbon tax is neo-feudalism, so they can control every facet of the economy and bankrupt us so we can't afford to have kids. Get us off the ranches, off the farms, into the compact cities, get us all on welfare, and then under the rule, I'm sorry, everybody's paying for you, you can't have kids. Meanwhile, we're drinking poison in the water and being sterilized, and our young girls are drinking GMO milk and going into puberty when they're 5 years old and then dying of breast cancer when they're 25. I guess it's fun to be under a soft kill weapon attack.
It's frightening, and the state is going to decide who can reproduce, take the babies from the teen mothers. But yeah, one of the frightening things I noticed when looking up Holdren's background is that he's a member of the Pugwash Conference, which was Bertrand Russell's organization. And, you know, this whole thing about the world society deciding over sterilization and eugenics reminds me of this Bertrand Russell quote where it says, "A scientific world society will be necessary to find ways of preventing an increase in world population. It cannot be stable unless there's a world government. If this is to be done otherwise than by wars, pestilence, and famines, it will demand a powerful international authority."
And that's what State Department Memorandum 200 says. It says it's our policy to use wars, famines, and sterilization and IMF and World Bank money, bankrupt the countries, by design, it says, to then force them to castrate the men and tie the tubes of the women. Because in the third world, they don't want you getting hooked back up. They just grab you and cut them off. And this is what's really going on. But here, they hit us through the water supply, and here's Obama's advisor saying, put it in the water.
Yeah, it's and the two most extreme eugenists I've come across is Bertrand Russell, who calls for a return of the Black Plague, and this Paul Ehrlich guy who will go to every means possible. And this Holdren, it has background roots with both of them. And
but then we have his book, his policy book, which, I mean, the quotes are all here. It says, compulsory abortions carried out against the will of the pregnant women, as is commonplace in communist China. It says, putting chemicals in the food and water to forcibly sterilize the population. Implement a system of involuntary birth control where both men and women would be mandated to have an infertility device implanted in their body at puberty and only have it removed temporarily if they receive permission from the government to have a baby. This is him on record. This is his quotes. Permanently sterilizing people who the authorities deem to have had too many children or who have contributed to general social deterioration. And again, this is common. This is, you know, supposedly common sense. I guarantee you there are people listening on the radio going, yeah, there are too many dumb, poor, stupid people we got to pay for. Well, don't pay for them. Don't have a government welfare system to pay. But see, the eugenicists set that up. They said, well, to get them domesticated. And they say, at first, this will cause them to breed and do all this, but we're doing that to domesticate them so we can then just wipe them all out once they're fully dependent on us. So see, in the first phase, they get you dependent, as the Royal Commission says. In the next phase we're now entering, they start doing the soft kill weapon system where 25-year-olds are dying of cancer and have Alzheimer's. And then they talk about that here as well. They would all be overseen by a transnational, centralized planetary regime that would utilize a global police force, these are quotes, to enforce the measures outlined above. The planetary regime would also have the power to determine population levels for every country in the world. Compulsory population control laws, even including laws requiring compulsory abortion, could be sustained under the existing Constitution if the population crisis became sufficiently severe to endanger the society. And he said in 77, we'll use the threat of global warming to push this, which they admit isn't even real.
That's right.
And then they're going to cover. Now, all these years we've been exposing chemtrails. There was the Nobel Prize when we're actually making a film about this. In 92, a gentleman in the U.S. wins a Nobel Prize for saying spray barium salts and aluminum dioxide mixed with jet fuel That will disperse it, block sun rays, and cool the Earth. But then climatologists and scientists said putting this nuclei out will actually, on average, increase the heat of the Earth because the ultraviolet goes through, bounces back up, and is captured.